I had grew a disdain for Wayne just because I started listening to everything. Like I started maturing as a human, and I'm like, damn, this nigga wasn't talking about nothing for a long time. And
I think that's what his argument was.
You know, like I love Wayne so much, but I understand how someone could be like, man, this isn't the Wayne that like I remember. As someone who like grew up in these communities, right, and grew up with homies who I seen want to be Bloods because they following Wayne and want to be gangster and want to shoot all the gun bar and shit. Right. Like I've seen the negative that he contributed to the community, and I had to look like, man, what are the songs where he really talked about something and gave? And out of 1,000-song catalog, you know, it's minute on this end. You know, as I mature, a lot of my old favorite artists, I'm now like, damn. Yeah. Like, I love you because I learned how to rap to you, but when you look at the contribution, it's like, man. But he was also a kid.
True. Yeah,
Wayne was a kid.
Yeah. He was like 14, 15 when he came out.
Man, a kid.
Just like if you used to ask me, you know, like, what's the best pussy? You know, like the one I fucked last night.
You talk about that a lot. People are like, why does Wayne talk about pussy monster shit? Like, so much pussy talk, Wayne.
I heard that.
Wayne, there's a lot of pussy
Wayne
talk.
say talk about pussy too much. What the fuck else you gonna talk about? What you want me to talk about? The world? Like, come on, man. The world, Craig? The world, come on, man.
I mean, there's a lot of...
But, you know, I ain't no goddamn professor. You know what I mean? Like, I ain't no... That ain't what I set out to do. Y'all gotta remember, man, I started doing this shit at 8, man. So at 8, like, I'm not... At 8, I ain't trying to tell you what's right from wrong in my raps. You know what I mean? And I'm still not trying to tell you what's right from wrong. That's not my job. I'm a musician. I do that with my kids. You know what I mean? You better do that with yours. You know what I mean? I hope your parents done it with you. You know what I mean? Like, that ain't my damn job.
You clap if you want. You clap.
Am I supposed to talk about something you want to hear? Or something you like? If you want to hear something about what you want to hear, then you better go find somebody talking about what the fuck you want to hear. I ain't giving no lecture. I know shit like, I don't know, they be like...
In the words of the great Dwayne Carter, real niggas fuck with me and I don't give a fuck who don't. And niggas could spin it however, but you know, my message wasn't even out of malice. I love Wayne. I wouldn't be the rapper I am today without. He inspired me to do so much. He inspired me to have bars. But he also inspired me to smoke weed, sip lean, fuck bitches, shoot guns, all those things. And I turned out great. But that's the power of being influential, nigga. I love Wayne, nigga. Fuck y'all.
This right here is one of them classic situations where the old saying applies. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all. Because now what we're witnessing is damage control in real time. LaRussell is attempting to walk back what he originally said and reframe it as if social media and fans were the ones that misinterpreted or overreacted. When in reality, the backlash didn't come from fusion, it came from clarity. People understood exactly what he meant, and that's the problem. Once you single out someone of Lil Wayne's stature by name, you're no longer having a broad artistic critique. You've now made it personal, whether that was your intent or not. And what makes this look even worse on LaRussell's end is the fact that there are literally hundreds upon hundreds of artists who rap about the same subject matter Wayne has touched on throughout his decades-long career. Yet none of them were called out. That selective critique opens the door for people to question the motive behind it all. Now, when you add geography into the equation, it becomes even more political. Because, let's be honest, there are Bay Area artists who rap about the same exact themes that LaRussell was criticizing. But the difference is, those are people he might actually have to run into at a show, a festival, a studio session, or just out moving around Vallejo, Oakland, or anywhere else in the region. Criticizing someone from New Orleans is a lot safer when there's no real chance of a face-to-face encounter where you'd have to stand on what you said without a Twitter thread or Instagram caption to buffer the energy. It's always easier to critique from a distance when you're not sharing the same backyard. That's why, strategically speaking, if the goal was to have a mature conversation about lyrical content or direction in hip-hop, the smarter move would have been to leave the artist nameless and address the catalog from a thematic standpoint. You could have discussed the impact of certain subject matters in rap music without attaching a face to it. which would have kept the conversation rooted in ideas instead of turning it into a personality-driven debate. Instead, once that name was inserted into the conversation, the entire discourse shifted from, "Let's talk about substance in music," to, "Why are you targeting this individual?" And now that the pushback has arrived, the retraction, or at least the attempted reframing, is making the situation look shaky. From the outside looking in, it comes across less like clarification and more like retreat. And in a culture where standing on your words is tied directly to credibility, that visual alone can read as cowardly, whether that's fair or not. What also complicates matters is the irony that many critics now feel exists in LaRussell's own catalog. A lot of listeners argue that while his music is undeniably fun, feel-good, and community-centered in terms of vibes, especially with what he's built independently out of Vallejo, it doesn't consistently dive into the deeper layers of struggle, systemic politics, or the type of socio-economic commentary that speaks directly to Black empowerment on a full project level. You might get a reflective bar here or there, maybe a moment of introspection sprinkled into a verse, but critics say it rarely manifests as an entire song, let alone an album, dedicated to unpacking the realities of oppression, community trauma, or what it truly means for Black communities to organize and rise collectively. So when you critique another artist's substance, the immediate response from the audience becomes, "Okay, but where is yours in comparison?" That's the risk you run when you move from celebrating what you do musically into evaluating what others aren't doing. And the broader lesson in all of this, especially for artists coming out of the Bay who are trying to maintain unity while building platforms like what you're doing over at In Yo Business TV, is that intra-culture criticism has to be handled with precision. Publicly naming and shaming without offering a framework for growth rarely sparks constructive dialogue. It usually just fuels division, defensiveness, and unnecessary friction. If the mission is truly to uplift the culture or push it toward more intentional storytelling, then the conversation has to be rooted in solutions, not spotlights. Otherwise, you end up doing exactly what opposition narratives want, turning Black creatives against one another over artistic direction instead of collaborating to expand it. At the end of the day, audiences always have the autonomy to curate what they consume. Like Wayne himself has echoed before, if an artist's content doesn't resonate with you or align with your values, there's nothing stopping you from simply turning it off and supporting someone whose message you feel better represents your worldview. Not every critique needs to be broadcast, and not every disagreement needs a name attached to it. Because once it is, you're no longer debating music. You're navigating egos, reputations, and the long memory of the internet. And as this situation shows, sometimes saying less preserves more, credibility included. Situations like this can really serve as a blueprint for how artists, especially ones representing regions like the Bay, should move when it comes to public criticism within the culture. If LaRussell genuinely wanted to spark a meaningful conversation about lyrical substance, messaging, or artistic responsibility, then the best move would have been to remove the personal element entirely and focus on the broader trend instead of attaching Lil Wayne's name to it. Because once you single out a legend, the conversation is no longer about the issue, it becomes about the individual, and now you've unintentionally created division rather than dialogue. A more productive approach would have been to speak generally about the direction of mainstream hip-hop content, highlight what he believes is missing in today's music, and then lead by example through his own catalog without making it feel like an attack. From here, the corrective step is accountability. Instead of attempting to spin the backlash as fan overreaction, standing on the fact that the statement may have come off disrespectful, whether intentional or not, would go a long way in preserving credibility. Clarifying your intent without minimizing the audience's reaction shows maturity and leadership, which is critical when you're positioning yourself as someone trying to influence cultural direction. On top of that, if the critique was rooted in wanting more substance in music that impacts Black communities, then the next logical move would be to reflect that mission consistently in your own work by creating full records or projects that directly tackle struggle, systemic barriers, unity, economics, or social mobility, not just scattered bars here and there. There's also a regional lesson here for Bay Area creatives that platforms like Inyo Business TV constantly touch on. Internal critique must be handled with care because public callouts can weaken collective optics and feed into the divide and conquer dynamic that already exists. If the end goal is upliftment, then solutions should look like collaboration, mentorship, or open forum discussions, not public naming that forces defensiveness. Artists can host panels, community conversations, or even collaborative tracks that explore deeper themes without alienating peers who may simply have a different lane or audience.